Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. It's the week of the fight. Champion unification at 140 between champion Amir Khan and champion Zab Judah. Now, before I go further, just remember the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. First, for the gamblers. You know, the way I'd play this is Zab Judah plus 600 by KO. That's being offered right now on Sky Bet. I'm sure it's being offered all over Europe. Zab Judah plus 600 by KO. Straddle against the over 6.5 rounds, again, right off Sky Bet at minus 275. Right? If money were no object, I'd like to take Amir Khan just to win the fight. Straddle against Zab Judah by KO. The problem, though, is Khan's such a huge favorite, minus 500, minus 600, that we're going to have to gamble here. We're going to have to take chances. I don't want to pay a minus 500 or a minus 600, right? So even though that would be my first choice, let's get back to the real world. Let's deal with odds we can cope with. I like the over 6.5 at minus 275, straddled against Judah by KO at plus 600. If you're dealing with over-unders, and I've seen several for this fight, you know what? Even an over of 7.5 would be something I'd take. And you'd probably get even better odds than the minus 275. But anything north of the midway point of the 8th round, I'd be nervous about. Right? Both of these guys have great power. You know, there is a possibility that Amir Khan is able to close the show, you know, right around that 8th round mark. So anything north of 7.5, I would be nervous on, and I would then start buying rounds to augment that over. Okay, let's talk about styles. My opinion, you can disagree with me, right? We're all boxing fans. We're all boxing family here on YouTube. I believe that Amir Khan is an ambush fighter who throws combinations, right? He's kind of a variation of your Jean Pascal, David Haye type ambush fighter. Just imagine if those guys trained with Freddie Roach and were taught to every 10 to 15 seconds or so jump in with combinations, right? This is the opposite of how Floyd Mayweather fights. Floyd Mayweather is a strategic counterpuncher, right? He will literally set it up so he lands a left hand or a check hook, then backs away, right? Amir Khan, very different fight style. This is a guy who ambushes you and rarely throws one punch at a time. He's throwing combinations, folks. He's jumping in. He's coming in at angles, right? He's a pattern fighter, but it's a complex pattern. He's jumping in at angles. He's blessed with quick feet and quick hands. So when he jumps in, before you know it, you've been hit with a combination. Then just when you're trying to counter him, right? He jumps in, he's battering you. You're saying, oh, let me throw something. He's gone, right? That's why this is ambush fighting. It's an ambush. It's hit and run, right? The guy jumps in, hits you with a combination, then he's gone for 10 to 15 seconds. Then, of course, he's back in. He's hitting you with another combination, right? This completely discombobulates fighters who might be great fighters up close. Marco Antonio Barrera, right? Probably beats most people even today if it's a strategic fight where neither guy can move, right? The guys playing chess who are thinking, he throws this, I throw that, he does this, I'll roll my head and I'll throw that. Those guys are at a loss when they're dealing with an ambush fighter, because an ambush fighter is literally just hit and run, right? He's not there. Suddenly he's there. It's pouring. He's raining shots. Then he's gone, right? And by the time you kind of like are trying to figure out how to get close enough to him to counter him, He's back in your face. He's throwing a combination. Also, don't sleep on how premeditated the combinations are. Right? When Amir Khan comes in, I can't even call him a headhunter because his combinations will go both to the head and the body. I'm sure they work on this in the gym before the fight, right? I'm sure that he sits down with his team and they come up with ways and they practice and develop ways where when he jumps in, he's able to hit you with, let's say, a body shot like the one that dropped Marcus Maidana. Then he's coming up top with headshots, right? It's very fast. Also, while he is not Vladimir Klitschko, right? He's not a jab and grab guy. He doesn't grab you when he runs in. He's not Bernard Hopkins, right? He doesn't run in, hit you, then grab you to tie you up. Rather, Amir Khan's interesting in that looking at the film, I'm noticing that he has some tricks he uses to get opponents into headlocks, to prevent them from hitting him after he's done an ambush. Take a look at the Marco Antonio Barrera fight. You're going to see that Khan keeps throwing this wide right hand, right? And Khan's right-handed. He throws a wide right hand. If it lands, it hits Marco Antonio Barrera in the face, right? If it doesn't land, Khan is athletic enough to then have the hand go behind Marco Antonio Barrera and then to pivot his body in such a way where he has Barrera in a headlock so that Barrera can't even counter the ambush. Right? Khan, in a nutshell, is a gifted offensive fighter. He's one of the few fighters in boxing who relies on combinations, right? Many guys in boxing today throw strategic counters. They're not combination guys. Amir Khan leads with combinations in most of his fights. There are occasions where he's fighting a guy who doesn't have a lot of power, like Paulie Malignaggi, who's one-handed, where he can just hide behind a jab the entire fight. But most of the time when you see Amir Khan, he's throwing combinations, he's jumping in, his opponents are helpless. Amir Khan will jump in whether you're ready or not, right? Ideally, best case, and Manny Pacquiao, his stablemate at the Wild Card Gym, is a master at this. Best case, you're overextended, right? You've thrown a jab and the jab's hanging out there, or you've thrown a left hand and the left hand's hanging out there, then he's able to jump in and you're naked, right? You can't throw that left again because it's out there. He's able to then hit you with a combination. But that doesn't stop Amir Khan, right? He's not waiting for you to throw that left hand. Every 10 to 15 seconds, he'll jump in, and he'll even throw a lead combination, right? In other words, he'll counter you some of the time. Some of the other times, he's actually leading with the combination. It's all a matter of timing, whether he thinks you're ready for the ambush or not. If you're not ready for the ambush, he's going to come in and he's going to bring it. So how do you deal with a young, early 20s, mid-20s guy with fast hands and fast feet? How do you cope with that? How do you stop the ambush? Let me name 3 ways, right? There are more, but let's talk about the 3 that might apply to this fight. The first, you saw it in the David Haye Vladimir Klitschko fight, is to have the ambush fighter run into a pole. Literally stick that jab out there, pump the jab. Zab Judah has a pretty good jab, so that when this ambush fighter comes in on an ambush, he's going to run into your jab, right? You have to have him run into punches. You have to use his aggression against him, right? In that David Haye fight, it was interesting. One way that Vladimir Klitschko was able to dictate tempo of the fight was he kept pumping a jab out there. So David Haye, who might have thought about being more active in that fight, realized he had to get through that jab line of defense to get to Vladimir Klitschko. So then, of course, when David Haye started looping punches, and Haye did try to throw haymakers in that fight, when he started looping punches to get around the jab, Klitschko, well-schooled, knew to cover his chin. right? Because David Haye didn't go to the body that much. Both fighters knew it. So when David Haye threw a haymaker, the haymaker came up top, and Klitschko was able to be prepared for it, right? With Amir Khan, it's a little bit more difficult because Amir Khan is coming in with combinations to the head and the body. But what you have to do, even though he's taller than you, is to stick that jab out there so when the ambush fighter comes in, he has to come through your jab to get to you, right? The second way to beat ambush fighters, and this is my favorite way, is to follow the ambush fighter after the ambush. Bernard Hopkins against Jean Pascal. What I found is that ambush fighters hate to be followed, right? Marcus Maidana against Amir Khan, the later rounds of their classic fight, right? You'll find that these ambush guys are so accustomed to being offensive juggernauts that when you're actually the one doing the ambush, you're actually in their face, you're actually pushing the action after the ambush, many of these guys don't have a plan B, right? Judging from the Marcus Maidana, Amir Khan later rounds, I don't think Amir Khan has a plan B, right? Here's the problem, though. Zab Judah's in his mid-30s. I'm not sure if Zab Judah has the foot speed and the balance to follow Amir Khan after the ambush, right? I'm not sure how effective that Bernard Hopkins strategy is going to be for Zab Judah based on his skill set, right? The third way is the way I think Judah is going to rely on, and with the nod to his trainer, Pernell Whitaker, who was one of the best. One way to deal with an ambush fighter, and I believe Zab Judah is going to be effective doing this in the early rounds, is to not give the ambush fighter anything to hit, right? You've got to bend at the waist. Frankie Gavin, Floyd Mayweather, you've got to bend at the waist. You've got to be prepared to kind of like turn sideways, bend at the waist. When the ambush fighter comes in, he's not going to be able to throw a combination high and low because you're already low. He's going to have to come low to find you. He's going to have to go through your shoulder to get to your chin. Not only that, you're going to have him time. So when he comes in, you're throwing a check left hook, right? You're throwing punches, check lead hand. Judah's a southpaw, so it would be a check right hand, maybe a straight left hand, right? You have something planned for the ambush fighter, and when he lunges in, like Pernell Whitaker, you're low, he's throwing punches, he's missing, you're in front of him, but he has nothing to hit. You're turned sideways, you're bent over at the waist, he starts to throw punches, you pivot, you're off to his side, you're doing the things that great defensive fighters do. Here's what I expect. I think Zab Judah is going to give Amir Khan nothing to hit early. I think he's going to fight low. I think he's going to bend at the waist. I think he's going to shoot a jab to keep Amir Khan off of him early. I believe early in the fight, because I question Amir Khan's chin, he's been down. People know it. Breeders Prescott. He's been hurt. People know it. Marcus Maidana. Because I question his chin and because the best punch in this fight is Zab Judah's left hand, I think Zab Judah has a chance at a knockout early in the fight. But I believe as this fight progresses, a guy in his 30s, I believe Judah's like 33, starts to get tired. That defensive style is really something for young men, right? I think as Judah gets tired, he starts to straighten up, right? He'll no longer be able to bob, weave, turn sideways, bend at the waist. I think he starts to stand straight up. And when that starts to happen, I think that's when we see an offensively gifted Amir Khan take over this fight, start to land the combinations, literally start to destabilize Zab Judah. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching.